Wow. Yes. Good afternoon, Dr. AMG.
Good afternoon.
How are you in Namibia today?
No, we are doing great. You know the weather and life being life, so we are great.
You guys have got rain there. Send it to Kabeja, please.
Don't tell me you're not having any rains.
We've got little. It does not, I think it does not even fill a 5,000 liter tank.
Shame for that. We hope we could share a bit.
Yeah. But today I'm sitting in Utrecht.
Yeah, I was impressed with the place that you have been showcasing, and there's a lot that could be done there.
Yes, I think there's a lot. Um, we'll establish by late afternoon today what we can see, what can be done, and I think then we can always put together something for the youth.
Perfect.
Yes. So, I'm handing it over to you. We've done series one of cybersecurity, we've done series two, ninjas, and now today we are looking at cybersecurity at the home environment and beyond, home network and beyond. So,
Certainly.
please share with us. Let us protect our network from home as we all aggressively are getting online and we want to do things at ease. We do our banking from home. Our children are doing homeworks on the digital different platforms or domains. How do we protect them? How do we protect ourselves? Because the same network is the same network that the parents are using. You know, if it
Mhm.
gets hacked, then there's a problem. When the mother or the father are doing banking, it might be a problem. You might
Certainly,
have
certainly.
1 billion in the bank and have zero the following day or same day.
That's very possible. Indeed, I like the way you just gave that background because it just helps to put things into perspective in a way.
Yes.
Because if we look at it, it's the same network being used for the school, the same network being used for work, and for entertainment, you name it.
Mm, that's true.
So
Mm,
that's where we find this whole mixed kind of a pot that we are all eating from as a family, and that network we need to really guard it jealously. If we can master the art of protecting that network as a family, I honestly believe we can really extend some of the little and the nitty gritties in terms of how to protect that other networks outside of our home network, which is where we have the onwards part of it.
I'm going to ask you a question, I think, before we start.
Yes.
What I've realized, especially for the youngsters and some old people, they are plugging into the network their devices that don't have any end user device solution, which is foundly called antivirus.
Hmm.
And for me, it's not antivirus anymore because it protects cybersecurity. It's not only malicious malware and all those things. It also forms a part of your firewall. It assists you to be a firewall and all those things. Those are the type of things that you're going. What can we say to people who don't want to spend on
All right. if people not willing to spend on security, it's very tricky. I would want to carefully choose my words here, because there are things that sometimes we could decide. Let's say they are optionals, and there are those things that automatically falls into the mandatory, or what I would consider the most crucial aspects. And
Mm.
if you look at the digital space we are all living in today, security is one of those things. You can't compromise on security and expect to have the better end of it at the end of the day, because even if you decide to cut corners, or if you think you're saving, you would realize you're going to be losing out that which you think you're saving by foregoing on some of those uh, routine or rudimentary security approaches that you could advance to protect yourself, either on your phone, on your computer, on your network. So I would say it's really out of the question of negotiating whether to really find the best of this security solutions out there, or deciding to say, you know what, I think is maybe on the high end. I can forego this, something along those lines. Of course, it's as good as we can try to give an analog to say, you know what, you can decide to say, I'm going to drive a car which doesn't have brakes. That decision comes already at a risk. You
Yes.
get the sense. Yeah.
Mm. It's clear. It's clear.
So
Car without brakes. Yeah.
yeah, you can imagine. Yes, that's
Or
typically what we'll
or
be
get
trying to
into a
do.
taxi without brakes.
Sorry.
Or get into a taxi without brakes.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine, you can imagine that.
Yeah. So I hear you. But
Even if it's a
also,
bicycle, the moment it doesn't have brakes, you're going to find yourself in a thorny bush
in a bush
along a
somewhere.
certain terrain.
Yeah. But we have made an example with individuals don't want to spend, but really there might be people who don't know better. You know, they don't know what they don't know, that which is very scary. But they are new in the tech space. A person was fortunate to get a laptop or a desktop, but does not
Hmm.
know that he has to have an endpoint device solution to protect the device. So I hope after this conversation, those individuals are going to be able to pick up some pointers, good pointers for them to go and protect the devices which are very important to be protected. You don't want to find yourself in a bicycle without brakes.
Yes, certainly, certainly. That would not be a good move. Um, with your permission, I would run through maybe a few slides before we carry on with the discussion. So I would maybe try to. Already we have preempted some of the aspects that I would have also loved to touch on as well, but we'll actually say repeat and re-emphasize on some of those key aspects, because they say when it comes to repetition, there is power in reinforcing some of the concepts, and you never know, you can get it the second time around if we missed it maybe for the first time around, in a sense. So in
Take us
brief,
through to that AMG.
thank you very much. So what we have in today's maybe discussion, or the first part of our presentation, which just touches on maybe some of the aspects, in a sense, just giving an overview to some extent. I was going through a couple of materials preparing for this, and one that I like the most is the SANS cybersecurity tips, and that I like the way they package everything, because it's more simplified, and it's easy to follow. So it's almost like a pocket guide of some sort, but in a digital format. So based on that, I just wanted to follow a bit of their format in terms of how they propose securing yourself in a home network. And there are 5 most important things which they really touch on, which I'm just going to briefly revisit in my presentation briefly as well. But before we do that, we're just going to do a quick recap in case some of you may be joining us for this series at the middle, or where we are right now at episode 3, as we would like to call them. So our last episode, which was episode 2, which was mostly driving the message of the CIA, which I'll just quickly recap. Then I'll touch on the aspects, the 5 aspects that I mentioned. You, whether you are the parent, you are the child in that house, you are a guest in that house, whichever role you are playing. Then the home network itself, then the passwords, the updates. Of course, we have a special category just speaks about the kids and the guests, of course, how to handle them in a sense. And hopefully we'll just try to remind you what we would have just highlighted in a sense. So by way of quickly giving context to what we covered in the last episode, where we were touching and dealing on with the cyber ninjas, where we're just reinforcing the building blocks for security to say, you know what, let's just take it to the basics and say, when it comes to security, understanding the CIA triad, as they normally put it across, because they visualize it in the form of a triangle, or we can try to put it as a 3-legged stool. With one leg as integrity, the other leg as availability, or if you start from confidentiality to formulate the CIA in that format. So these are the building blocks when it comes to creating cybersecurity or security in a sense. It's almost like a framework, which we touched on a bit. So if you are really building whatever security consciousness in terms of your practice, whilst you're on your mobile device, on your laptop, and bearing in mind that you have these aspects to be addressed in your user practices, in the way you would want to secure your data, then you would have done yourself a big favor. Of course, you would find maybe there are other extensions where they will add other A's to this model, which will be something we will touch in the upcoming episodes in a sense. But this was just for the last episode. Jumping into what we are covering today, I'm just going to start with the first item that is very important to say you are the most important, let's say, focus when it comes to cybersecurity, and especially in the home network. So the you in this case, we are saying you might be a child, you might be the parent, you might be a guest. When it comes to attackers, they know for them to gain access to your passwords, for them to gain access to anything that you're trying to protect in that computer, in that phone, they can easily get it through tricking you to giving it out to you. They use different approaches and different forms. And most prevalent, which is more closer to the human heart, is using any social engineering tactics. Sometimes they create a sense of agency. You normally receive some of those emails that have that tone to say you need to respond to this urgently, or you need to provide these details urgently, otherwise you're going to lose a certain deal. Normally, with today's kind of terminology, the formal fear of missing out, you find yourself jumping into trying to take action without even thinking. And that sometimes causes you to forgo some of the security checks. You might have gone through some even security training at your workplace. You might have gone some security awareness even at school. But when it comes to some of those emails, sometimes they even create a sense of agency, which causes you even to panic to say, so and so is stuck, and maybe it's a close family relative or even a close family member. They might even be following through whatever is happening. They might have traveled, and they can even scare you to say they've been involved in an accident. You need to transfer such and such amount of money for them to be attended at a certain hospital. Before you do that action, sometimes it's always good to do some due diligence just to check, so that at least you don't panic, because it's out of some of the crisis moments which are created out of the sense of agency, which we end up sometimes giving out those secure details about ourselves, about our homes, about our even work environment setup, etc. You're sometimes even giving out even debit details because you're in that state of panic. So that's just one typical example. And another scenario, most of the times, you receive such emails to say you've won such and such a prize. For crying out loud, you have never even bought even any lottery ticket. Why are you opening an email that is telling you that you have won a certain prize for A, B, C, D? All those emails that are too good to be true, just think before you open them, in a sense. That comes in that whole essence around the imposters as well. Sometimes they imitate the people that you know, or even your boss, simply because the email is indicating it's coming from the person that you know, doesn't necessarily mean it's coming from the person that you know. So the good thing, in as much as I might have said this, you are the best defense at the end of the day. Because if you can take care of some of these aspects that I've indicated, to say, you know what, the moment you receive something, stop, think about it, do that due diligence that I just mentioned about. You can even just do a quick call to the person that is being said to have been involved in a crisis, just to check if it's correct. And sometimes, if you're in the process of trying to do that, be careful, because they've already strategized on how you're going to react. Sometimes the phone lines could also have been compromised. Find other means or ways as well to reach out and try to verify before you take any action for some of those scenarios. So these are some of the aspects that we can mention. There's a lot we can mention around it, but you are the target in terms of the attackers. You are also the best line of defense when it comes to some of those attackers. As long as you are aware, you will be in a position to protect yourself. Then if we come to the home network, with the home network, of course, most houses or most settings these days, they are made up of wireless networks, or any device that is broadcasting connection to the devices that are in that house, either phones, computers, baby monitors, TVs. They are connected to that Wi-Fi network. And one of the most important things to pay attention to when it comes to those wireless networks, or the Wi-Fi as you would like to call it, take care of some of the simple things, that so that at least you just make sure that you're secure. Change the default administrator passwords, the ones that comes with your devices. Make sure those are changed, because by virtue of them being produced in thousands, already attackers know when it comes to a certain model, when it comes to a certain gadget, which they are even able to pick when it's broadcasting, because it provides the details. And sometimes the names of those devices, you also leaving them at default, which gives away all the properties and details which attackers are able to use. So if possible, also use some namings that also don't even give away other details, even about yourselves. I know we normally like to name our Wi-Fi with our names, and it's easier for people to say, okay, fine, the moment this is a stolen Wi-Fi, we know about the stolers. And the process of trying to attack made even easier, because we have known that this is a stolen Wi-Fi. So we have to also be careful around that naming, around that Wi-Fi as well. And this is where you could actually take control of who has access to your home network. That includes the password that you would have set, and we recommend set some strong passwords to those devices once you have changed. And make sure, even if you are using the password, the administrator password that you're going to choose should not be the same password that you use on your other networks or your other maybe emails or accessing your device. Just make sure that they are just unique in a sense. So that at least you create that secure a network around your home in a sense. And the other thing, in as much as we are always giving, we are always ready to share. And normally I've been following with a bit of some amusement, especially pre-COVID when people were visiting each other, and there was this new greeting that people had been accustomed to say before they even ask how are you, they're asking what is your Wi-Fi password. And so it's one of those things, and normally it's easy. You just give it away, but be careful in terms of who is having access to that. Of course, on a lighter note, we can talk about that. And I don't know why I jumped already too, because I still need to cover the other aspects. Okay, let me just touch on this, the next item, which is the passwords. So when it comes to the passwords, one other aspect, maybe since I was emphasizing to say change those administrator passwords, make them strong. Don't use the 12345 as displayed there. Those are very easy passwords, and sometimes it may appear very complicated to be changing passwords for this email, for this site, for that. Make use of the password manager softwares, and also enable two-factor authentication where you will receive a code to verify that it's you who is accessing a certain site, for example. It's important really to go that. Of course, it appears as if it will be trouble to one extent, but that trouble is one that will help you to be secure. And one of the things that we have an advantage of, especially if you are listening this and you are from Africa, we have our vernacular languages. You can code your passwords in that format as a paraphrase, whether it's a prayer. For me, I would even go for that option. Make it as simplified as you're able to remember it, but in a more complicated way to say it's longer. It could be some of the clan phrases you have in your vernacular language. Use those ones. That's your security to some extent, and we have that advantage. Unlike the English words, those are easy sometimes to crack, and there are so many softwares that have been able to do that. So when it comes to passwords, you have the best armor. Use your mother tongue. Create as much of the strong passwords as you can. That's one advice I can actually give you. Then when it comes to the updates, one of the things when it comes to the devices you're using, whether it's your TV, even if it's a baby monitor, anything that connects to the internet, make sure that those devices are up to date in terms of whatever updates are being produced by the manufacturers. And it's important to be in a position to do that. It's as good as, if I would try to give a practical example, the immunizations that are recommended for your children. Sometimes they help them to build the immunity against known diseases, which is exactly what those updates sometimes are meant to do. So if you have devices that are lagging behind in terms of those updates, one, especially if they are connected to your network, you are going to have poor security, because that becomes the line of weakness. And when we say water, when it is flowing, it follows the weakest part. The same applies even to security itself. It follows the weakest part. That device, whether it's a computer or whether it's a phone, if it's not having up-to-date updates, that's the one that is going to be used to demolish your home network. So lack of updates will lead to vulnerabilities, and vulnerabilities are the friends for the attackers. They capitalize on them, and it will be Christmas. Then when it comes to updates, they actually make it very difficult for the hackers to compromise your devices. At least they will have to apply other methods. But if updates are lacking, they know they can reach out to you very easily without so much effort. But if you have an updated device, I'm not saying you will not be attacked, but at least you have a bit of some first line defense in your hands. Then about updates, if you feel sometimes you are overwhelmed with the devices you're having around yourselves, just sometimes activate the automatic update option for the updates so that you don't miss any of those updates. Please don't ignore them when you see that pop up, or especially that is coming from your device. If it's an Android update, if it's an iOS update, don't ignore it. It's very important for the security of your device and your network eventually. Then the last item we could really try to talk about, either from a social perspective, but more linked to the security, are the kids, are the guests. You need to be firm when it comes, especially even to the kids as well, and even your guests at times, because you never know what categories they fall under. They can still be kids as guests as well. Set some boundaries, or especially when it comes to your work laptop, because if they are going to be using the same laptop playing the games, if they are going to be using the same laptop to plug in whatever memory stick, they say there's a game, you don't know where that game was downloaded and what's the security of that device which they're trying to plug into. You have to set the boundaries. A work computer, if it's possible, make it a work computer. Of course, I know there could be compromising scenarios where sometimes you might have to use that same machine. If you find yourself in that scenario, always make sure you have two different profiles, your profile and probably maybe a guest profile of some sort, so that at least you are able to identify whichever activity could be of any risk to your network, to your computer. That is very important. Then also that whole important aspect around monitoring the activities which the kids do online. Sometimes they visit certain websites out of curiosity, and they are inviting unwanted attention even from the attackers, because the moment they start playing on certain websites, they could be pornographic websites, there could be any other websites sometimes where attackers normally take advantage of the people that visit such websites. So be careful and just monitor some of the activities they are doing, especially on your network. And the danger with that footprint, it extends even to your workplace, and especially consider if they're using your work computer and some of those websites start popping up while you're at the midst of a board meeting. You can imagine the consequences that could be, and it started from your home network. And part of a larger network is considering that your home network is not in isolation. It's part of the global village that we are all living into. So practice and help those kids and guests to practice some cyber hygiene of some sort, reminding them they need to secure their whatever sites they visit, their devices, two-factor authentication, remind them about the passwords, remind them they are also the target by the attackers, as we started off from the very beginning. So just to wrap up, um, the beyond, which you saw on our title as we started off, building cybersecurity in the home network and beyond, we are we coming from the background to say charity begins at home but should not end there. Once you have started to practice some of these simple aspects, protecting your internet connectivity, your devices, taking care of the passwords, making sure they are strong, make use of the same practices, also extend, even let the children do the same even at school. Let yourself also extend that even to workplaces as well. So we are saying if we can start to build some of those cyber hygiene activities at home, let that spill over to wherever we will find ourselves, and to that extended network in a sense. That's why we are more interested in that. So as a way of recapping, what we simply covered in today's session, which is focusing on the home network, was reminding you that you are the target by the attackers. And the good news as well, you are the solution to some of those challenges. Because why do we say so? You are the one who understands the type of devices that you're using in your home network. If you don't know how to change the administrator password, check your internet service provider, check even the documentation that came with that manual. Most of the times, I've noticed with a bit of concern that we sometimes don't read manuals, but in those manuals, sometimes every of the steps that we need to, we only start looking for the manual when we are stuck or when something is broken. But let's do that before we find ourselves on the other end. And we also touch the aspects on passwords to say, use your mother tongue, set the strongest passwords. That's actually one of the security we are actually having, especially if we are rich in our African languages. Then updates, do not ignore them. If you're going to forget, just put them on auto update. And the kids and the guests, please reign a bit of some control and remind them that they are part and parcel of a bigger network in a sense. And with this, I would say till next time, we're going to meet on our next episode in May, where we are going to focus on the professional. We'll take it a notch bit, a bit, where we are going to delve on some of the technicalities around cybersecurity in a sense. We are still moving with the cybersecurity awareness in all these episodes. I hope you find this short presentation informative enough. I leave it back to you, Sonobo.
Thank you, Dr. AMG. For me, you've spelled it out, and it is very easy to understand why cybersecurity is critically important. You've put it in very easy language, simple explanation. Everyone, I think, understands. But what I like, one of the things that I like is mother tongue passwords. In my language, there's a lot of the clicking words. So
Mm,
going forward from today, I am going to use my mother tongue, which has got the clicking words, and I can imagine how many cyber thugs out there, that criminals that can figure out what the clicks are. Anyway, for me, I think it's a conversation that we started. I think we must just continue. For people who are going to watch this session, post our discussion or post our conversation, you've touched on passwords, you've touched on updates. We've got a tendency to ignore updates, you know.
mm,
And
mm.
I know lots of people in my network or in my circles that hardly, they say, no, I always forget when I'm home. It delays, and until such time that you've got 5 6 updates, you know.
Wow.
um so these are very important. And for us, I think, as a way of teaching us, if you can just I don't think we can emphasize enough where we let our children use even our work devices,
Mm,
you know.
mm.
um, you've highlighted the risk of taking um, malware, different aspects that are related to criminal elements from home back to work. But I think it's
Mm.
even worse when you let your children use the same devices that you use for important meetings. So your suggestion on cyber hygiene. Let's say my children uses the devices. As a
Mhm.
parent, what must I do first thing in the morning before I plug it back to work?
like I highlighted during my presentation, where I was saying, the first important thing, at least, make sure if you're more than one user on that device, um, create different profiles so that at least the only person who has access to your profile is yourself. Because most of the times, at least when it comes to some of the pop-ups, they may not necessarily be one of your biggest worries when it comes to that. Of course, if you have an antivirus, sometimes it's best that you could actually run it, maybe a first thing before you could actually use that device, if you know it was being used by the kids, in a sense, just to help you. Of course, you, like I said, you are the answer sometimes to some of most of these
Mm.
questions. In as much as we can have the different softwares that are trying to protect you from the different attacks, some of them may not even catch the simple things, because you are the one who will know exactly what has been happening on that computer. If it has been used for the last 3 hours, anything could have been happening on that. So just doing a quick scanning of the machine itself would help in many times. And if possible, you could restart, shut down, restart, or rather than just picking up from where the kids were and you are just continuing with your work. That is very risky in most of the times.
So even for those who normally pride themselves or who are very scared, I think it's scared than pride. They would normally say, "Hey, I'm not technical. I'm not technical. I only use this thing at work to receive emails." So switching it off and switching it on, basically, it kind of reduces the risk of ongoing, or if it was on for 24 hours and it continues to be
Mm.
plugged into another environment. And this one, I'm not sure, but I'm going to ask it. Now that following the series that we've been having, 1, 2, 3, it is apparent
Mhm.
that children must be taught cybersecurity at school.
Certainly.
Why is it not done?
That is a tricky question, and as well as an important question to ask. If it's not being done, I would say it's an error. But
Mm,
to some extent, I do believe it could be done. They might be doing it, but maybe if it's only being done from a theoretical perspective, it might not be relatable to them. Because remember, some of the school rules and practices, they differ to say there are no phones at school, and sometimes if they don't even use computers themselves, and you're just telling them, just mentioning in passing, that may not really click in a sense. This generation is the generation that does experimentation. Um, they want to bend their fingers first before they know that they can't touch that fire.
mm.
So I don't really think maybe schools are neglecting to teach cybersecurity, or if they are, they don't know where to start. Maybe I'm just putting some wild maybe.
Okay.
It's a big if they are not, because this is where I think even from the very first discussion we had, we were talking of the curriculum itself. Because if the curriculum is not really embracing the need to be revised and incorporate cybersecurity in any one of the subjects which they are doing, then that curriculum really is still lagging behind in a sense. So we have to start re-looking at that curriculum and do recalculation, recurriculum, revamping in a sense.
I agree. I agree. And this I can say it safely for me, or for Picta. There are organizations or corporates that donate PCs
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
different organizations, including schools. And fast forward a year later, they never go back and make sure that those computers still have the up-to-date antivirus. And I normally say those are ticker box. They ticker box. We've done it this year. They would see to finish. So these are the type of things I think that we need with conversations like the ones that we're having now. We really need to go out and empower people. And I hope this is a start of many of the sessions that we're going to have in empowering people. Um, and it's scary in that if you look at in South Africa, even the credit bureau was hacked.
Yeah,
The,
it was
the,
making circles a couple of
yeah,
days ago. Yeah.
yeah, it was hacked, and they wanted to release our president's bank accounts and Malima's bank accounts and many others. So it is cybersecurity can be emphasized enough. It is very important for us to have. Um, I think from your side, maybe you can advise us. Organizations like Picta, someone listening who runs an organization like Picta, um, where must they start? For with children, where must they start? Must they use the same approach that you're using, which for me, and I'm not being biased, it's a very good approach. For mothers out there and fathers out there that have got little knowledge of computers, what must be done? And really, is this government responsibility? Is it individual responsibilities to have cyber awareness?
I would have maybe a more generalized response to this first by saying, you know what, when it comes to cybersecurity, is everybody's responsibility first of all. So whether we want to start at an individual level, at a community level, at a school level, whichever kind of sphere we are considering in terms of where we are starting, whether we have organizations like PICTA that are taking it to be a personal mandate to say, you know what, let's create awareness, let's empower people. Actually looking at all sorts of maybe environments, whether we are focusing on the rural areas, whether we are focusing on the urban areas, that's even commendable in a sense. So I would say, you know what, if we are trying to look at where is normally the best education starting from, if this is why you see the approach that we started off with as Spiked for this series, to say, you know what, if you look at our episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, we just revolving around the home setup. We are saying, let that begin even at home. Of course, I appreciate and understand that you are saying the parent is saying, I don't know anything about computers. I don't know anything about cybersecurity. I was born before computers. Um, so it's no longer an option to really say, because uh, again, it's also not about complicating the whole process as well, because that challenge that I have normally picked, which is why Picta is coming out with a different approach and say, you know what, how best can we speak a human language that is being understandable when it comes to this talk around cybersecurity? It has always been a high table kind of a discussion where people are using jargon and all that when talking of cybersecurity. It's a high time we start to really communicate a language that is accessible to everybody, so that at least we bridge all these gaps that do exist with from those that are saying, no, I don't know anything about computers. I don't know anything about cybersecurity. Because those are the same people that we are going to rely on to ensure that we emphasize the awareness, reaching out to the children, because most of the times they are the people that are with the children, and especially if you approach these school going children, they will tell you honestly to say, no, when it comes to phones, computers, we know better than our parents. They don't lie about that aspect. But we need to bring back the empowerment to the parents as well, to say, you know what, in as much as these young children of yours are saying they know better than you, but you have a better experience when it comes to life, come from that angle and build the awareness that is needed. Let's build the cyber hygiene that is needed. You wouldn't want them to extend certain behavior simply because they are online. We are saying the online encounters is just merely an extension of who you are on the physical. And this is where we talk of the digital twin. And we have to start that teaching, that awareness from the home, from the individual, building it up to various communities and all the organizations that are ready to be on board to build that awareness. Join hands with PICTA. Let's reach out to the various communities. Let's empower the parents to be in a position to also assist the teachers to pass that message in terms of creating cyber awareness and creating cyber hygiene. That's what I would actually say. My long and short answer.
Yeah, no. Yeah, thank you, Dr. AMG. It is. I think it was important for you to be long-winded on this one. It really addresses the aspect, but I just need to ask you a question, and it just it dawned on me that as part of this series, is it not important for us maybe to have a session where we are saying cyber cyber protection or and just say this is what people must get home and do. This is, if you're using a normal desktop or laptop, go and check if your antivirus is up to date. Maybe just as a passing, something like that. Go check your antivirus if it's up to date. If it's not, first, do you have an antivirus? Two, is it up to date? Three, if it's not up to date, update it if it's still valid. If it's not valid, buy an antivirus. If these to protect your machine from connecting to unwanted domains, maybe you need to go check this, go into settings and check if this it's been set up properly. I think maybe, and this is me, maybe also it will be a good start in, it's, I think it's security 101 or 0 or 0.1. Maybe that also it that will assist as we go forward, for for children who like to, before they ban themselves, they can actually go and say, no, mommy, daddy, I need to check your laptop if or your computer or desktop, whatever it is, device, if it is protected, and they go check. I think it's a start of them knowing, and maybe activating or that curiosity. It's just me thinking, Dr. AMG.
Yeah, I do follow what you are saying, and it's a good proposal that we could put to action as PICTA, and as part of our mandate, we are saying we want to empower, And the only way you can empower is making sure that people know where to click, what to check when it comes to saying your device is secure or it's not secure. So
Yes.
we have to move beyond just making it kind of a merely talk or a presentation kind of a setup where we would have those practical demos of some sort, which precisely I can confirm that will be the way forward to go. And even where possible, we could try to see environments where if things are opening up, while this you're out there into the community, just walk through people on how that is done. And those are some of the sessions we might be sharing on this platform, where we would have gone through those workshopping kind of activities of some sort. So that at least we show that it's possible, even if you are just starting from scratch, to be in a position to do some of those things on your own.
Thank you, thank you. It's just something that crossed my mind, because when you get home, uh, people use their phones as a router or as a modem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But some homes, you've got connection that is coming in, which is fiber, and you've got all the different devices that are there. And can you leave your security and trust that the pipe that is coming in, you are protected because it goes past different devices to the network provider? And the answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
For I know for companies you can have firewalls, but as well at home you can build a firewall. And what is a firewall? um, and without us, because we are not into business of selling products of companies, so we can't mention
Mm-hmm.
products of companies unless they are coming themselves to sell their products. But I think it's a good start, and that was my thinking before we get to professional. Maybe we just address the home environment and close it. Yes, but it has been a very interesting discussion for the past 3 months. And you can see, and I've said to you, time flies. It has been 3 months already.
Yeah, very soon we would be talking of end of year.
Yes, as you know, within PICTA, we're also offering introduction to cybersecurity online for people that can afford unemployed youth. I was setting up one of the classes day before yesterday, and already, it's 3 months normally. It was giving me a 2nd of July.
Wow,
Hmm?
impressive. Yeah,
No,
time flies.
the year is finished.
Yeah,
And
it
so,
is. It is. It is.
as always, Dr. AMG, we thank you very much, but it is a wonderful thing to have people like yourselves who donate their time, and not only to do and make a difference to people that are going to be watching these sessions, but as well for the time that you spend in making a difference to PITA. People must not think that you end here. I still bother you after hours and many other times to make sure that we make a difference to communities that we're serving. And you always make time. So people must know that if they want to contact us and have questions, they can send the questions via info@picta.africa, and they will always be attended to. And those that are addressing cybersecurity issues, they will be forwarded to you for clarity and further explanation. So people must not think that it ends here. It does not end here. So whatever people wants to say, wants to information that they need, we are always available to answer. And for me, it is always good to see that there's people that there's a traveling Swart that is listening. Hi, traveling. Thank you for listening. Traveling, Doc MG.
Mm.
Traveling is an executive development director for PICTA. She's driving the women agenda in PICTA. She has started with us a few days ago. We are really focusing on the women agenda.
Perfect. Impressive. And welcome, Travelin. I also see some other
We've got
participants as
Martha,
well.
we've
Yes.
got Link, we've got Daryl Dennis from the iHub. Martha is a member of PICTA as well. Martha always drives also the entrepreneurship and different other aspects within PICTA. And she runs her own foundation where we've partnered, and we are offering training in Uganda for young ones that are male young ones, not female. She focuses on the males. Don't ask me why, but that's what she does. Daryl Dennis is Nelson Mandela iHub, which is our partner as PACTA. Euro AfriLink is based in Netherlands. It's Patience, hi Patience, one of our partners based in Netherlands. We normally run agri-tech and access to international markets on Tuesdays with her. So look, and these are just a few that I'm picking up from about 5 or 8 of them that we have here. And we really appreciate on everyone that has spent their time today in coming to listen, and hopefully we'll take it further. Dr. AMG, thank you very much. Till next time. I appreciate really for our communities, for our youth, our young lions or lionesses. We really thank you for good conversation and empowering conversation.
Certainly. Before I go, I just want to give a shout out to Daryl. I always have the pleasure to listen you through on this same platform as well. And it's an honor really to be seeing you also online. And to you, Sonwabo, I have no much words really to express how grateful we are and the work that you guys are doing with PICTA and the various branches that PICTA is having, just trying to drive the mandate of PICTA in various aspects, reaching out to the youth, reaching out to the women, reaching out to the underserved communities. And we hope we will find energy to continue pushing this agenda forward. I'm just checking the time here. I have to jump to my next meeting
I
at
also
2
have to
sharp.
jump to the next
Thank you very
meeting.
much.
It's always a
See you next
pleasure. Thank
time.
you. Until next time. Thank you. I can't thank you more.